Hey guys, thank you for tuning back to my channel, Amy's Vinyl Experience. Today we are talking about Pink Floyd. So I really wanted to do a series on Pink Floyd and break it into 3 parts. So the way I'm going to start this series is today I'm going to talk about the Syd Barrett era, and then we will talk about David Gilmour and then follow with Roger Waters. So those of you who know me know how passionate I am about songwriting. I absolutely love artistic, articulate songwriting. I am a writer myself, so I guess that's where the passion really comes from. I love how just indulging into the lyrics absolutely heightens my experience when listening to music. I love to just lean back, drop the needle, open the gatefold, and just, fall into these stories and allow myself to float. So yes, today we are talking about Syd Barrett. So let me just share something with you. So I absolutely can shoot myself in the foot. I am a huge Roger Waters fan, so I kind of surpassed the Syd Barrett era. And boy, have I really been mistaken, because the last 2 weeks just really indulging in the Syd Barrett era has absolutely changed the way I feel about early Pink Floyd. Syd Barrett's writing is absolutely incredible. I actually resonate very, very well with one of the songs on The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, but I will share that with you when I get to that track. So the way I like to do this series is I'm going to share my interpretation of the lyrics with you. I love to share my mind. So the way that I kind of discover these lyrics, I kind of just allow myself to float and have my own experiences. I don't really go out on the internet to see what other people's point of view are. I love to float in my own imagination. I have a really expanded mind, and I love to just kind of feel the music in my own direction. If I do kind of struggle with a track, I do a few little things to kind of get the meaning. I'll put in a name or a word just to see what will pull up, to see if it will lead me to a book or a character, and see if anything resonates with the songwriting, because sometimes you need to do that, because sometimes there's historical facts or legends, and I really want to get the story right sometimes. So yes, let's go ahead and dive into our first album. We are going to be talking about The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, released in 1967. So this is all Syd Barrett brain. It is a brilliant album. Let's talk about the first track here. All right, so I have my laptop in front of me so I can read you the lyrics. So the first track is Astronomy Domain. So Astronomy Domain is very obvious, in my opinion, that this is probably about aliens or UFO sightings. And I think it's a brilliant, brilliant opener, because back in the 60s, UFO sightings was such a big phenomena. And, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn being such a psychedelic album, I think it was a great attention seeker first track. So I'm going to share with you a few pieces of the song that really make me think that it's about aliens and UFO sighting. So in verse 1, it says, "Lime and limpid green, a second scene, a fight between the blue you once knew. Floating down, the sound resounds around the icy waters underground. Jupiter and Saturn, Oberon, Miranda, and Titania, Neptune, Titan, stars can frighten." And in verse 2, it says, "Blinding signs flap, flicker, 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 blam, pow, pow, stairway, scare, dan, dare, who's there?" So We have Lime and Limpid Green. That makes me think of an alien. A second scene, a fight between the blues. So maybe there's this alien just kind of, you know, looking down on Earth, and there's a fight between his world and then the Earth. You know, he obviously wants to come down for some reason. And then we have Dan Dare, and, you know, he sees blinding signs, and then says flicker, 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 blam. So I think the lights are kind of blinding. And then it says pow, pow, stairware, scared Dan Dare, who's there? So it's scared Dan, and he's like, who's there? So I think it's a brilliant track. I really, really appreciate this one very much, especially as a first song. All right, let's look at the second track here, Lucifer Sam. So I recently learned something interesting about Syd Barrett. Supposedly he had a couple of Siamese cats, and I Googled it and looked it up, and he did. There's photos of him holding his Siamese cats. So this is an interesting track called Lucifer Sam. It's about a Siamese cat. So I don't know if this is an actual true name that he named one of his cats, but I love the lyrics on here. I think it's so mystical and creative. So the refrain says, that cat's something I can't explain. But I love verse 2, how it says, Jennifer Gentle, you're a witch. You're the left side. He's the right side. Oh no. That cat's something I can't explain. So I don't know. I mean, the cat's name is Lucifer Sam. So I don't know if maybe psychologically, every time that cat comes and sits on his lap, he just kind of has this hallucination of this witch on his left-hand side named Jennifer Gentle. So this song must have played a huge influence on a band in 1999. There is a band called Jennifer Gentle, and it is a psychedelic band. They named their band Jennifer Gentle, and I mean, the only thing that I can think of is that they got inspiration from this song. I think it's very interesting. It's really, really cool. Okay, so let's go to the next track here. We have Matilda Mother. Now, Matilda Mother is very, very interesting because, you know, I couldn't really wrap my mind around the title, but also wrap my mind around the songwriting. So I kind of put in Matilda Mother. Well, the first thing that popped up on Matilda was Cautionary Tales for Children. It was a book. So I decided to, you know, read some of the poems in there, especially the Matilda. So let me give you a little bit of history here. Cautionary Tales for Children is a 19th century book that was written for children between the ages of 8 and 14 years old. They are very sardonic poems and very horrifying. So let me tell you a little bit about Matilda. Matilda was a lying little girl in this poem, and she would lie all the time. And one day, her house ended up catching on fire, and I guess she called for help. Well, when she called for help, they didn't believe her because she was known as Matilda the Liar, or the Lying Matilda. So she ended up burning alive in her home. So these were the kind of tales that were written in that book. So I got a little bit more information on this because it really struck me, because the lyrics aren't necessarily about Matilda the Liar, but there are little pieces that kind of highlight different poems in the book. Supposedly, last minute, Syd Barrett had to change those lyrics. He kept the title, but he had to change those lyrics because I guess maybe they were too daunting or haunting, you know, because it is about cruelty, cruel things happening to children. So he changed those lyrics up real quick. I'm not sure of the full history or all the details on that, but I thought that was quite interesting that he kept the title. So a little bit about that song. It really is, a mother is telling these fairy tales to her child. Her child is pitching a fit in his high chair, and he's like, "Mother, please tell me more." And you know, there's also in the lyrics, he's going, "Ah," like he's screaming, pitching a fit. He knows mother is not telling him the full story. She is kind of just like keeping things out, and he wants to know more. So that's a really, really interesting track. Not just the songwriting, but the whole history behind it. So let's move on. Let's talk about Flaming. Now, Flaming is such an inspirational track for me. I love it so, 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 so much. When I first read these lyrics, I literally was shocked. I was pushed back like, oh my goodness. Because I'm a writer myself, and I just finished writing a book. I wrote a poem so similar to that song. I mean, my whole book is nothing but obscurity. I mean, it's all obscure things that relate to a lot that is written in this poem. But I wrote this one poem that is so closely knitted to that song. I just couldn't believe that Syd Barrett and I just kind of rose to the same lengths, like to the same level of artistic thinking. And I don't know. I just think it's wonderful. I think it's beautiful. So I want to read this one to you, and if there is a wolf roaming around this channel that has finally made it to this channel or found my new channel, he can resonate to this as well. We've talked about this. So let's go ahead and read the lyrics to this wonderful, wonderful song. It says, "Alone in the clouds all blue, lying on an eiderdown. Yippee, you can't see me, but I can you. Lazing in the foggy dew, sitting on a unicorn. No fair, you can't hear me, but I can you. Watching buttercups cup the light, sleeping on a dandelion. Too much, I won't touch you, but then I might. Screaming through the starlit sky, traveling by telephone. Hey ho, here we go, ever so high. Alone in the clouds all blue, lying on an eiderdown. Yippee, you can't see me, but I can you." Just such an obscure, like, expanded mind of thinking. I love it so much. I really, really do. And this really, really just, really made me realize that, I truly have to say, what a beautiful mind. What a beautiful mind, beautiful imagination, and I love this one so much. So the next track is Pow R, T-O-C-H, that's how I'm going to label it. And it's instrumentals with like vocal sounds. This one got me so excited when I first heard it. I was like, wow, wow, wow. My mind just expanded. I was so excited and so thrilled. I am a super, super hypersensitive thinker. I mean, all I have to do is just have a sip of wine and drop the needle, and my body just gets all these experiences. I'm just super hypersensitive. And boy, did this track really, really excite me. I mean, my mind was just going in every direction. All the imagery that was in my imagination was like, wow, this one is so cool. This is everything that I love about psychedelic music. It just absolutely excites me to the bone. Now let's talk about Take Up the Stethoscope and Walk. Let me pull up those lyrics, because I think that this song is so well written. I love the way it's written. I love all the different key points in here. It really talks about, in my opinion, on what I think the song is about, it really talks about drug addiction. Maybe the doctor is involved, maybe prescribing his drug habit, but it also talks about not feeling shame in sin. You know, like Jesus paid the price, so he has no guilt. But it also talks about, in my opinion, I think he also talks about withdrawals, on how he copes with that. So let me read you the lyrics so you kind of can wrap your mind around my interpretation. Okay. It says, "Doctor, doctor, I'm in bed. Doctor, doctor, aching head. Doctor, doctor, gold is lead. Doctor, doctor, choke on bread. Doctor, doctor, underfed. Doctor, doctor, gold is lead. Doctor, doctor, Jesus bled. Doctor, doctor, plain is red. Doctor, doctor, dark doom. Gruel, ghoul, greasy spoon. Used spoon, June, bloom." And then verse 2, it says, "Music seems to help the pain, seems to motivate the brain. Doctor, kindly tell your wife that I'm alive. Flowers thrive. Realize, realize, realize." Just well written. I mean, you can feel every change in this song. I mean, you have the doctor, but what really kind of points out that this is about drugs is aching head, gold is lead, choke on bread, underfed, and then it repeats it again, gold is lead. But then it also says, Jesus bled, pain is red. So in my opinion, I think that there's probably no guilt underneath, because he kind of feels like, well, Jesus already paid the price for his sin, you know? So I think it's interesting. But then it also says, dark doom, gruel, ghoul, greasy spoon, used spoon, June, bloom. So I think that's kind of like the darkness that kind of creeps in. And then verse 2, music seems to help the pain, seems to motivate the brain. I think that's probably how to cope with the withdrawal when he doesn't have that, when he doesn't have, I guess, his addiction fed. So, well-written song. I really appreciate those lyrics. I love how they are written. All right, let's talk about Interstellar Overdrive. Interstellar Overdrive is such a long instrumental track. I think it is brilliant. I love the changes. I really, really, really like this one very, very much. Lots of psychedelic changes in here. Do I like it more than POW-RTOC? As much as I appreciate that that track, I still gotta say the POW-R is just like, wow. That just like totally lifted my feet off the ground and took me into another place. Let's talk about the gnome. So the gnome is very well written, and I think Syd Barrett did a fantastic job with this, because it really is about a little gnome living his daily life. It's so well written. I mean, you can clearly just put an image in your mind and just follow this story, and you could just see this little gnome just kind of roaming around, and it's very well created, and it's like a painted picture. It's beautiful. All right, let's talk about chapter 24, Rainbow. Oh, not Rainbow, I'm sorry. Chapter 24. And I'll tell you why I said rainbow. So, chapter 24 is a brilliant song. And I think it is so maturely written. So maturely written, especially for Syd Barrett. And that's not like, this is a compliment, is what I'm trying to say. Like, such a compliment on his creativity. And I really think that it's about a rainbow. So let me tell you why I think he's highlighting signs of a rainbow, because it says, all movement is accomplished in 6 stages, and the 7th brings return. For 7 is the number of the young light. It forms when darkness is increased by 1. And then it says, change returns success, going and coming without error. Action brings good fortune, sunset. So before a rainbow comes out, so a rainbow has 6 colors, and it can have 7 colors if you add the indigo color, which is not seen by eye, but I mean, if you get a closer look on it, there's actually another color in there. Everybody seems to look at the rainbow differently. So some people look at the rainbow like it's love, hope, happiness. Some people look at the rainbow, as in Noah's Ark, the promise of God that he'll never flood the earth again. Some people look at the rainbow as new beginning, like depending on your walk or maybe religion or the tales you've been told, everybody has a different story. But my favorite story of the rainbow always goes back to The Wizard of Oz, 1939. Sometimes the rainbow, I don't think people see it this way. I don't see it this way, but I love how in The Wizard of Oz, the rainbow was signified as false hope. So that is very interesting as well. And I mean, what a brilliant writer, whoever wrote The Wizard of Oz. It's just incredible. One of my favorite movies of all time. Top three indeed. Okay, let's get back to music. Let's talk about the Scarecrow. So the Scarecrow is such a great track. Very well written. Some people view the Scarecrow, I've had conversations about the Scarecrow. Some people view the Scarecrow as just this innocent view from a child's eye, but it's so much darker than that. When you really invest in these lyrics, there is such a hidden message in here that I pick up. I mean, Syd Barrett wrote these lyrics. I mean, of course there's going to be some kind of hidden message in here somewhere. So in verse 3, let's just talk about the song here. So there's this Scarecrow. He's on a stick among the barley. The mice are running around, and he talks about how he has no brain and he can't move his arms, but when the wind blows the Scarecrow's arms, they move around. Well, in verse 3, it says, the black and green Scarecrow is sadder than me, but now he's resigned to his fate, 'cause life's not unkind, he doesn't mind. He stood in a field where barley grows. So the black and green Scarecrow reminds me of, like, he's been there for so long, and he's been kind of like, battling the climates of weather, so he's probably tired and wore out. So it says the black and green Scarecrow is sadder than me, but now he's resigned to his fate. So he accepted his fate that, well, this is where I am, this is what it is, I can't change. And then it says, 'cause life's not unkind, he doesn't mind. He sees it as life's not unkind, like this is his fate and he doesn't mind. But to me, I feel like that there's such a hidden message behind that. It's like almost a waking up message of social conformity, to not, settle for social conformity, for people to wake up and start thinking for themselves that you're not stuck. You can be who you want to be. It also to me, it also speaks to stop following social expectations. Think for yourself. You're not stuck. You might think you are, but you're not. So that's what I get from the Scarecrow. Let's talk about Bike. This is one of people's favorite tracks on this whole album, and I don't blame them. Absolutely beautifully written. I mean, just a masterpiece. It really, really is. It is such a beautiful story about young lovers in love, a young lover's romance. Just a beautiful, beautiful track. The songwriting is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, so let's move on. Now we're going to talk about A Saucerful of Secrets. And the only song that Syd Barrett wrote was Jug Band Blues. Now, I believe on the back of here, of the record, I believe it tells you who wrote what song. So let's talk about There Will Be More Light. I know for a fact Roger Waters wrote this song. You can tell by how organized it is and just how deep and brilliant it is. I mean, Roger Waters' thinking was so deep in thought. He really grinded through his music, in my opinion, really grinded through his lyrics. Like, he always wanted to get straight to the bone of things. And this track is so incredible. It's called Let There Be More Light. So this track is about, let me get the name right here because I always feel like I'm going to get it wrong. It's the mythical legend of Hereward the Wake. So Hereward the Wake was considered I'm getting tongue-tied, was considered a heroic outlaw or the exile. So that's how most people would view him. He fought against William the Conqueror. Now, this is such a mythical legend. Not many people truly can say the exact story on how it unfolded, but it's an incredible story. It's actually very haunting. So Hereward the Wake, one day he went home and his father was dead and his brother was beheaded. They ended up like beheading his brother, putting it on a stick and putting it like at the entrance of his home or on a fence or something like that. And it was very haunting. And I believe it was the Normans. The king sent the Normans to go and, I guess, destroy his family. So he ended up heroically going back to, kind of share blood with them. He ended up beheading a few himself. I guess it was probably at the king's castle or something. I'm not historically correct here, but he ended up putting them on sticks to kind of share blood back with him. So these lyrics are absolutely incredibly written. And if you know the story of Hereward the Wake, and if you want to add anything in the comments to kind of help me out or anybody out, that will be awesome, because I only know bits and glimpses of it. But it's such a mythical legend. It really is. All right, let's talk about Remember a Day. Now, Remember a Day is such a great track. I find in the 60s, it was really a big deal to talk about consciousness and imagination and innocence and youth, and just how easy and light it was to be a child. Remember a Day is so well written, just about remembering your youth when you used to use your imagination and life was so easy and there was so much more joy, and then eventually you grow up and all that magic just kind of slips through your fingers. And I think it's so well written. It really is questioning, why does it have to slip away? Why do we have to lose that magic? Let's talk about Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun. Now, this is a very mesmerizing song. It really is, and I think it really balances the yin and the yang so beautifully, that in the dark you need a little bit of light, and in the light you need a little bit of dark. You need that perfect balance. And the way the lyrics are written, it's just beautiful. It's like when you make wine, You know, you need that beautiful sun to hit your grapes. And then when you finally make one, you got to put it in the dark cellar. So it really hits cues like that. Like the lyrics are just brilliant. Now, Corporal Clegg, the next track here, is such a sardonic song. It really is, because it's really saying, well, let me just hint on a few things here. Corporal Clegg, he inherited his wooden leg in the war. So it's almost like very sardonic, kind of dark. And what I love about this track so much, I'm gonna pull it up here, is this really was one of the first sightings of theatrical pieces in Pink Floyd, or at least of what I think. I mean, it really showed what the future was going to be in Pink Floyd. What I love about Pink Floyd so much that really caught my attention and really turned me on to Pink Floyd was all the theatrical work in it, just all the little acting pieces. Pink Floyd is one of my favorite bands of all time. My top 5, absolutely. I love Pink Floyd so much because of all the theatrical pieces in their music. So the chorus says, Miss Clegg, you must be proud of him. Miss Clegg, another drop of gin. So it's almost like, it's very sarcastic. It really is. All right, let's talk about, what's our next track here? A Saucerful of Secrets. So A Saucerful of Secrets has 4 instrumental parts. Very interesting. This one was a very interesting float for me. I was just like, whoo, my mind is going everywhere. My heart was racing. Like I had like goosebumps on my arms. It was almost a very cynical feeling. It really, really was. And it was exciting. I literally created the best horror movie in my mind. Like my imagination just goes wild. I'm super hypersensitive to sound, and this really, really did it for me. Let's talk about Seesaw. Seesaw is a very interesting track because it really is about a brother and a sister relationship, but also how dark it can be, almost cynical a little bit. You know, it's like in the lyrics, it talks about the little girl, you know, her brother's kind of laughing in his sleep, and she has a stone and she's ready to throw a rock at him while he's sleeping. Why would she do that? Why? I mean, it's a little dark. It really is. Let me pull up that part for you here and read it. Okay, so the refrain says, she goes up while he goes down, down. Sits on a stick in the river, laughter in his sleep. Sisters throwing stones, hoping for a hit. He doesn't know, so then. Like, that's very dark. It really is. It's like, I guess we'll call it brother-sister love. You know, we're always trying to get one on each other. All right, let's talk about Bug Band Blues. I believe that's what it's called. Let's see. Oh, sorry, Jug Band Blues. Let's talk about Jug Band Blues, the only song written by Syd Barrett on the album. Now, to me, this is a very philosophical track for me. It just feels very philosophical. And I just feel like there's a lot of escapism in this song, but also he's kind of quoting, like, is it a dream or is it a joke? So let's look at verse 3. It says, and the sea isn't green, and I love the queen, and what exactly is a dream, and what exactly is a joke? So I think this is a great song from Syd Barrett. I really should have read you the whole song, but really it's about, it makes me think of don't take life so seriously. Don't take it so seriously, because is it a dream or is it nothing but a joke? Like, yeah, it's a great song, great song. All right. Ooh, there's my water. I could probably take a sip. I do hope that you appreciated this video. I hope that you enjoyed it very much, because I really enjoy just diving into these lyrics and just swimming in Syd Barrett's brain. I love just diving into these minds of these artists. I'm an artist myself. I love writing, and I know what it feels like to be a writer, but I wonder sometimes, what does it feel like for other people? Do we get the same experiences? So diving into lyrics is really important to me. It feels very mystical and magical for me to kind of go into somebody else's mind. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Next, we're going to focus on David Gilmour. I'm so excited to really dive into his lyrics and kind of feel him out and share my interpretation with you. So I guess we'll wrap up this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again soon again. Thanks for watching.